Hello everybody, welcome back to the Advanced Vape channel. If you haven't had a chance to go into the coil contest, I believe this video will go up on the last day of that contest, so go check it out and put a comment in there to enter that contest if you haven't already. Anyway, before we get started, I apologize if there's some noise in the background. We're headed towards having some storms, so there's a lot of thunder and stuff going on. Anyway, today we're going to be taking a look at the AROMAMIZER SUPREME V2 from Steam CRAVE. This is the update to the original AROMAMIZER SUPREME. It stays at 25mm, and as you can see, it looks quite a bit like the AROMAMIZER Plus, just smaller. The things that they changed between the V1 and the V2, they have a wider chimney in there. They added this mesh and changed the juice flow control a little bit, and apparently removed the pins in there. I haven't seen them when taking it apart, so that I know that was a big issue with the Supreme. People having those pins fall out, they were easy to lose, so that's no longer an issue. The juice flow control on this is identical to the AROMAMIZER Plus. So I'll go on and take it apart a little bit and show you what it looks like. It comes with 2 decks, and we'll look at that in just a second. It comes with this drip tip on there, and I found it to be extremely loose. It can kind of be held on there by suction once you vape a little bit and there's juice in there. That's just water, but if there's juice on here, it'll kind of stick there. But as it is right now, if I try and hold it, it'll fall right out. There's kind of no friction there. So, whoops, no friction there. So I would like that to be a little bit tighter. Anyway, just like the Plus, this whole bottom section unscrews. And here's the juice flow control. All the way open, all the way closed. So a much simplified system over how it was before. The airflow ring on this is very tight, and I know that not a whole lot of people had that issue with the Plus, but if you remember my review of the Plus, it was extremely loose. I can move it with one finger. Just going like this, it would move back and forth, and this is quite a bit more friction there, so I really like that. And another thing this tank has, I'll go on and take it apart to show you. Take the top cap off. There's the top fill. You can completely disassemble this tank. And it has the same kind of chimney as the Plus. And you can just screw the top cap on. And reassemble it like this, so it's basically the tank without the tank, and essentially use it as a dripper. Obviously this doesn't have the deck in there right now, but I don't know about using it as a dripper. The AROMAMIZER line, they're tanks. That's where they shine, and I feel like that's, I don't know. I like that you have the option, but at the end of the day, I would prefer to use it as a tank. That's what I feel like it's good at. So let me go on and take this apart, and we'll take a look at the decks. The deck that is included in this is a standard velocity style deck. And this is a little staple build that I have in here. If you notice, I have the coils pulled up quite a bit and out as far as I feel comfortable pushing them out. Very much like the Boreas. So there's the velocity deck. That comes with it, and separately you have the option of a postless deck. This is an alien coil build that I've left on here from testing it. And there's a couple different ways you can put this deck together. This postless deck really reminded me of the Modfather deck, except for the wicking is a little bit different, but the positioning is completely the same. And so the coils kind of want to be close together, but I feel like the flavor is really lacking in that case if you leave them close to where the post holes are. So I kind of tug them out just a little bit, and I'm going to put the wick directly underneath them, and we'll see how that works out. So I'm going to go on and wick. I'll do the postless deck first. And we'll try and get through wicking both of these decks quickly. I'm going to cut it right about at the base of the deck. Maybe a little bit up about where that O-ring is. So I've got them tucked in there pretty well, and I'm going to take a look at the underside and just push it a little bit to make sure that it's not super tightly packed in there. Okay, and let's move on to the velocity deck. And I'm kind of pulling with this hand as I'm pulling it through to thin it out a little bit. And I'm going to cut at the base of the deck. So what I like to do, now that I have it wetted down and it's kind of soaking that up, I'm pushing the cotton down hard into those little holes there. I'm really packing it in there. And right before I'm done, I just give the whole thing just a little lift, like that. So it has the shape of the wick ports, but it's lifted up just a little bit to allow juice to come in there easily. If you just do it without lifting it up a little bit, it will wick, but it just doesn't wick quite fast enough for my personal preference. And I'll see if we can see it before I put the chimney on. The coil is lifted up high enough to where the airflow is hitting it directly. So if you put it kind of down lower at the base of the deck where kind of the velocity default position is, just inserting the coils and leaving them as they are, it's down too low and the airflow blows over top of the coil and kind of misses it, and the flavor really suffers. So you want the coil to be up high, and even up a little bit higher than I have it here would be even better. You want the air to be hitting kind of the bottom half of the coil if possible. And I have the airflow, the juice flow all the way closed for filling. Okay, so we've got the top on now. And I'll have the airflow wide open, the juice flow about here. And I'm going to use it at about 90 watts. Now that I've vaped it a couple times, I'm going to open that juice flow up. It's definitely wicking, but not wicking as fast as I want it to. So I'm going to open it up all the way. I know that on the Plus was really efficient at wicking. So more often than not, the way that I wicked it, I would have the juice flow like this, just in normal use. No matter how much I chain vaped it, that would keep up. Not really the case on this. You've got to open it all the way. So the flavor on the Velocity deck, it's really good, and to me, it is very similar to how the Boreas feels. Just the general feel of the vape and the way that the wicks are saturated and kind of the juice hits your tongue, it feels just like the Boreas to me. So now I'm going to switch over to the postless deck, and we'll give that a try. And I just want to point out, when I put the postless deck in there, I did the exact same thing where after I added juice, I gave the legs of the cotton just a little bit of a tug to lift them up off, from being super packed in there. So the flavor on the postless deck is good, but I personally prefer the Velocity deck better. I was a little bit surprised by that. I was expecting the postless deck to be where it's at for this tank. I don't know. I mean, it's okay, but there's just something about the postless deck on this one where it just doesn't perform quite as well as the Velocity style deck. I think that's probably down to the design being different than the postless deck on the Plus, and there's more room on the Plus because it's 30 millimeters. So for me, where I'm at with this tank, if you have the Boreas and you really like that tank, to me this is just a straight upgrade from the Boreas. It's the kind of thing like if I know there's a lot of people that really love that tank. If you have that tank and you didn't really like how the juice flow control worked on there, where it was linked to the airflow, this is just a straight upgrade to a much more effective juice flow control. A little bit less turbulent air because of that mesh, and just a kind of modernized design. So it's kind of a no-brainer sort of upgrade if you're coming from something like the Boreas. If you are trying to decide between this one and the Plus, where size is not an issue, I personally prefer the Plus. And the Plus is something that I still use on a daily basis. I really like that tank a lot. It gives me some of the best flavor of any tank that I own. And this tank has good flavor, but when you compare the two, the Plus is going to win out. And that's probably because there's more air and you can fit bigger builds in there. And if you watch this channel at all, you know I tend to skew pretty heavily towards bigger builds. I wouldn't be able to fit the coils that I put on the Plus in this tank. So it's to me more capable of producing better flavor because it's bigger and has that room. But I know there's a lot of people that are not crazy about 30 millimeter tanks, and if that's the case, then this is a good alternative to that. If you're trying to stick to around 25 millimeters, it's a good choice. To me, the RDA option is kind of take it or leave it. I wouldn't buy it because of that option. It's the sort of thing like if you want a 25 millimeter RDTA, it's a really good choice, and I can't really think of any other 25 millimeter RTAs like the AROMAMIZER that can compare just on usability and that kind of thing. So to me, it's just a really solid tank in that kind of 25 millimeter RTA category. It really just comes down to your personal preference and what type of builds you do, what size you want, as far as which one would be the better choice. So that'll bring us to the end of this video about the AROMAMIZER Supreme V2 by CRAVE. If you like this video on our channel, give us a like and subscribe. And as always, if you have any questions, leave them below in the comments or send me an email. Thanks.